Hello, I'm live. It's Monday. Yes, it's Monday again. So it's time for CEO check-in. Hi, Amber. Good morning. Hi, Rabia. I guess it's good afternoon when it's noon. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I was offline a lot of the weekend, which was so nice. It was a beautiful weekend here in Connecticut. I hope you guys had great weather wherever you were. And I baked some bread. So I have it here to show you. My son and I baked this together. He's 15 and he's become very healthy. So I was like, well, what can we bake that is not cookies? Because he won't eat cookies. So this is a multi-grain bread that we ordered from William and Sonoma. I am really not a baker at all, but we made this together. Thank you for the claps that are coming through. I really wish you could try it, especially because it's not that good. So we really need to get rid of it now. He was so kind and had like three pieces. I had like half a piece. It's kind of heavy. It's heavy bread. You could do some damage with this bread. It's like heavier than my computer, I think. No, maybe not quite. Heavy. It's about as heavy as this microphone. These are about the same. But you know what? We're all doing things we've never done before, right? This is called trying to find new things during a weird time. So I hope you did something new and different this weekend. And if you baked, I hope it came out better than my multigrain bread. I'm not saying where I ordered it from because I don't think it's their fault. I think it's very likely our fault. The other thing that happened this weekend is on Sunday, I started feeling like, because I'd really rested. Saturday, I took off, and by Sunday afternoon, I was like, okay, so what is going on with my business? And I know that we're all having that feeling now, right? Of like, can I go back to business as usual? Do I have to reinvent everything? I'm a coach, so people are still signing up for our programs, which is great, but certainly we're not seeing the volume that we had a year ago this time or even 3 months ago. And I found myself kind of going down that rabbit hole of like, well, what if it never comes back? I loved my business. I loved exactly how it was. I want it back exactly how it was. I'm sure you've had that feeling too sometimes. And so I thought, okay, well, what can I do today to go into the week feeling really great? And we know that keeping a powerful, positive mindset is the most important thing we can do right now. Because as soon as we start slipping into that mode of like, oh, what's the point? Like, no one's spending any money and everything's different now. That's when we just get very small, right? And we close off when we're in that place. So how do you stay open? Funny enough, I have my cat Ripley, and every morning he does this very funny thing where I pick him up, and instead of wanting to cuddle or anything, he does this huge backward stretch like this. And he stretches all the way back in my arms. And he's like so open and vulnerable. Like he's just stretched out backwards. I could drop him, which of course I'm not going to, but he doesn't know that. And for me, I take it as this daily reminder that we have to stay open. We have to keep our hearts open. We have to keep trusting that things will work out for us. We have to trust the people we love to show up for us. We have to trust our mentors to be there for us. I'm so honored to be here for you, and I have people who are there for me. And we have to keep doing these big stretches, right? Where it's like, okay, I hope you've got me. And look, the universe does have us. We're here. We're healthy. If you're not feeling healthy right now, I wish you getting back to perfect health as quickly as possible. But I'm very blessed that most people in my life right now are healthy. And we have to use this time, right? It's really precious. So the mindset teaching I want to do for today, and if you're new to CEO Check-in, welcome. We are meeting twice a week now, Mondays and Wednesdays at this time, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And if you're just waking up, if you're calling in from the West Coast, good morning, happy Monday. So we like to start with a mindset best practice, and then I get into some live coaching and hear what's going on with women all over the country, just like you, who have businesses, who are trying to figure out, okay, what's next and how do I, keep thriving in the new normal. So the mindset practice I want to teach today, and I have a little visual for this, is it's called focus on what's working. Actually, that's not what it's called. It's called what you focus on expands. And you might have heard this before. This is not one that I made up. It's whatever you focus on is what expands. And that's a little different than the mindset practice I taught last week, which was to focus on what you want. You might remember that one, right? Focus on what you want is stay very present to what are you trying to make happen in your life? Because otherwise you can get distracted with so many other things. But I have a little post-it up right by my computer that's like, focus on what you want, right? In case you're ever going down a bad path in your brain, just get refocused on that. I also have a vision board that I keep up with all things that make me happy, that are part of what make my life full and rich, and things I want to attract more of. But this Sunday, when I sat down to think about my business, I had this big whiteboard in front of me. I have this dry erase board I've been using ever since the lockdown. Oh, and look, I've got my little spring dress on today. It's like super nice weather. Maybe I could tie the belt here in Westport. So I pulled out my little handy dry erase board. It's actually, you've got one side that's dry erase, one side's dry erase, and then one side you can write on, just like butcher block paper. And so I just wrote, what's working, right? Because if what you focus on expands, then if you're going to spend half an hour or an hour thinking about your business, well, what's working and how do you build off that? And so I made this whole big list, and here I can read some of it to you, because maybe there's a parallel in your business right now. So let's see, I wrote that our summit was a big success, that we have people signing up for our programs. Now, maybe it's not at the same level as it was before, right? But people are signing up, so that's working. I wrote that I'm working on a new $1 Million Women Coach certification program. Super excited about that. I wrote that our PPP loan was approved. That's working. I wrote that we have amazing new partners because of the summit, and we can do so much more with them. I have 2 programs that I'm launching that women are signing up for. So, just all the things that bring me joy and that fall in the category of what's working, right? Because it's very easy to focus during your day or get distracted during your day by what's not working. And it tends to, hi, Marion, on Facebook, it tends to eat up your bandwidth, right? And suddenly you have no energy or time left to figure out, how do we build on the things that are working? So maybe try this for yourself today. Take out a big sheet of paper, or if you want to just take out a regular sheet of paper, right? And just write at the top what's working. And then list all the things that are going well. I then shared this with my chief of staff this morning, and both of our wheels got turning about more things that we could do to build off of what was working. What else can we do with our partners from the summit? Who else is in our community who has been kind of showing up at all of these free live workshops we've been having and saying, oh, I need a little extra help, but hasn't yet signed up, and maybe we can help bring them in. We have totally special reduced pandemic pricing, as we're calling it right now, to make it easy for women to get the help and the coaching they need. So what's the parallel in your business, right? What's working and how do you build off that? And if you need a little help thinking about it, maybe you want to get live coach today. I'm going to do some live coaching in just a moment. Before I do, just a quick reminder that I've been doing free live webinars to help women entrepreneurs figure out how to stay in business, how to keep making money. And I have one coming up this Friday. We had 3 that we already did that you can get access to. You can watch them on video. So if you want to see those, just email Maddie@juliapim.com, MADDY @juliapim.com. She's my amazing chief of staff, and she will send you a link to our prior free workshops, which were all about how do you market during these crazy times, right? How do you manage your finances? Kind of the essential things we feel every business owner should be doing. And the new one coming up this Friday, I'm super excited about, is called Thrive, Making Money in the New Normal. Let me try that again. Thrive, making money in the new normal, because we still need to make money, right? People who work in corporate America, most of them are still getting their paychecks. It's boring or it's hard to work remotely, and they've got kids at home, and I totally feel for them, especially people with small children. But we have totally different concerns as small business owners, right? We have to keep our teams employed. We have to figure out how to generate money for the second half of 2020. Right? On July 1st, it's going to be the second half of the year. I know we're probably all of us are ready for 2020 to end at the end of May, right? I would be fine with that. But the fact is, we're not even halfway through the year. So whatever projections you had for 2020 for your business, right? Are you going to make 500,000? Are you going to make 800,000? Are you going to make 1.2 million? Well, that would make really nice cleaning supplies now, right? Those projections, you could just spray a little Windex on them and use them to clean off your coffee table or your windows because they just don't mean much anymore. Everything has changed. It's a whole new landscape. And we're basically all running a startup right now, which is something I'm writing a blog post on right now. So if you're on my list, you'll be getting that in the next couple of days. So during this time, it's more important than ever that we look at what's working, look at success stories, figure out how to help each other find new ways forward. And that's what we're all about here in the Million Dollar Women community. So please join us this Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern for this Thrive workshop. Thrive, Making Money in the New Normal. And it's on Eventbrite, or you can email Maddie at maddy@juliapim.com. All right, who wants to go live today so I can do a little bit of coaching? We've had such amazing women coming on since day one, really, of these CEO check-ins. And we do record them. So if you'd like to see some of the old ones, they're on YouTube at Julia Pimsleur Coach. We had Denise from Watch Her Work on. That was last week. She's based out in Texas, and she was talking about the importance of grieving because we have lost a lot collectively, right? And there was a big article in the New York Times a couple of weeks ago about that. And that's something that, you know, I'm very aware of for the women I work with, that if you don't first grieve the business that you had, it's a little bit hard to start building the business that you're going to have. And by the way, we're all going to have awesome businesses, right? There's no doubt of that. We made a done decision at the summit. If you were there, everyone who was there made a done decision that we were going to use this time for something super, super positive. And so now, you know, it's time to start building that. Who wants to go live today? Someone's going to get some live coaching. I want to see who is ready to come on. You don't have to be, looking fancy or anything like that. Let me see, I'm sending a little message. Come on. Here we go. And if you want to come on and get a little coaching, just signal to me by using the Instagram, request to go live. And I will pull you on and we'll do a little live coaching together. It'll be fun. All right, let's see. ADSMF. I'm pressing on buttons here to see who's ready to go live. Hi, Marianne. I'm waiting to hear from someone, and if not, I'll just pull someone on. Maybe Amber. No, Amber's not able to join. Hang on a second. Oh, great. Okay, Bea's going to go live. Super. So how do we do that? It's not yet. Bea, can you send me a little request? Bea just joined our $1 Million Women Masterclass, and so she'll be starting this week along with our new spring cohort. We sign up just a couple of times a year, women, for our online business program called $1 Million Women Masterclass. And we had our summit recently, so a whole bunch of women signed up there. I'm really excited to get started with this new cohort. All right, let's see. How do we get Bea to come on live? Bea, I'm clicking on your name, but it's not letting me send you an invitation. So if you're able to ask to go live with me, that would be super. She's saying, how do I send you a request? I don't know how it happens on your side. Maybe you could Google it. Could you Google it? We're entrepreneurs. We'll figure this out. People who have requested to go live, I don't know what button they press because I have all different selections on Instagram. In the meanwhile, I would say that if you haven't yet done this exercise of taking out a big piece of paper and just mapping out where you're going with the business, this is really, really comforting. I did this right away when lockdown started, where I just did summit, same and different. And then I did business, same and different. Because if you make it too complex, it just starts to feel overwhelming, right? And so a great way to think about your business is what's the same and what has to be different. So, here we go. Hang on, I think it's going to work. Go live. Okay. So what I did was just figure out, okay, what is still the same in my business and then what needs to be changed. And once I did that, it just felt a lot less overwhelming. So I'm curious if anyone else did that. Did you do same and different? And if you did, put it in the chat on Instagram, or Marianne is with us on Facebook. What is the same and what is different in your business? Rabia, I know, is with us, who's a coach. And one thing that's the same is that she coaches leaders, and leaders still need a lot of help, right? The problem's multiplied for leaders. They've got teams working from home. They feel isolated. There's sometimes a lack of transparency happening in these big businesses where they're saying one thing. Hi, tell me if I'm getting this right, Rabia. Where sometimes the bosses are saying one thing, but then the leaders are hearing something else, right? Like they need you more than ever. We'd love to hear you. Well, first of all, hello. Nice to see you.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to see you. How's it going?
It's going great, thank you. I got my little spring dress on. I'm feeling it. I'm loving the spring. Thank you. Actually, it's a woman dressmaker. It's Leota, which is
cool.
Yeah, she was a mentor at this year's summit, Sarah Carson.
Right.
Yeah, so if anybody's looking for like comfy clothes to wear for the spring from home and that transfer easily from home to outside, I highly recommend it. Leota. How are you today, Rabia?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Yeah, I just say the weather's so beautiful. I'm like, oh, I want to try to go in between calls and stuff to treat myself to some sunlight in a little.
Oh, completely. You should. You should. And how was your mindset over the weekend? I was sharing that I was mainly in the sun and happy and baking bread and doing stuff like that. But then, Sunday afternoon, I was like, Monday. How are you feeling about the business over the weekend?
I'm doing okay. I had a little bit of what you were talking about. Like, I just wanted to go back as the way it was, and how much pivoting is enough. And then I did spend a little bit of time trying to make some video kind of edits to put up. So I did my second video about my service offering. So I'm trying to get more into this notion of putting myself out there when it's not been the case earlier. So
I know, but you're so good on video. I mean, even your early attempts were so good and they're just getting better. You're so natural and relatable. Like, I think you really are going to love having that as part of your mix once you get comfy with it.
Thank you. Yeah, I just had to cross that bridge a little bit. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, you're on it. You're getting across it. So I would be curious, and it would probably be helpful for people tuning in. We were just talking about the same and different exercise, like what's the same in your business and what's different. Or I also shared this other idea this morning of what's working. So I don't know what resonates with you of any of that, Rabia.
Yeah, I started when you were saying it, I was like, oh, let me do same and different right when I jumped on. And I think what is the same is, for me, as you know, I work with leadership teams to create better workplace cultures for the organizations. And I kept kind of fumbling around a little bit when the pandemic hit, because I was like, oh, do I need to switch things up? But I realized what's the same is the need there for leadership teams to be able to have that sense of space and alignment for them to actually get together. So that hasn't changed. I need to remember that. It didn't just go away all of a sudden because of COVID-19.
That's right. Thank you for sharing that. Because I think for a lot of people, we're getting tripped up on the how, right? Like how we delivered our programs. For most of us, huge changes, right? I mean, I mainly taught virtually, so not as big for me, but I know you used to go into companies, right? And be in rooms with groups of people. That's what you did. And you probably loved it.
There's nothing like human contact, right? So, but that's the big different column is it's the how, like what's the mechanism to brainstorm and have these ideas. And, you can sense energy when you're in a room with someone or with a group of leaders. I'm trying to pick up different ways to be able to detect that. It's hard virtually, but I don't think it's impossible.
Yeah. And look, if I came on this call, like, okay, here we are. It's Monday, CEO check-in.
Yeah.
Right? That would be one energy, right? And the energy I feel from you, where like you show up smiling and like wanting to engage. Like, I think we do still get to exchange energy, thank God, right? But I hear you. It's not quite the same. And now we just have to get better at celebrating like what we can have, which is amazing. Like, I love seeing you on CEO Check-In and whoever else comes on. So thank you for bringing me your good energy today.
Absolutely. Thank you. Same here, for sure.
So here's another question. So what would you do in your what's working exercise? So if you did that at the top of a page, tell me a couple things that are working. Let's help other people get their juices flowing, right? Of like, okay, what's working?
Yeah. What's working is the network that I've cultivated over the last several years. Like that's kind of hangs out in the same category. I have to remember that August is going to be 6 years in New York. I moved there not knowing a single person for this new job, and literally was on my own in a sixth floor walk up. And then I'm like, wait, what's working is all those relationships and connections I've built and the awesome people. So I have to remember that that's a huge resource because that didn't just go away either.
Absolutely.
So
In fact, and I love that you
yeah.
mentioned that. And in fact, our networks are intensified now because we've talked about, and even more valuable, we talked about the fact that most people are not opening emails from people they don't know as much right now, right? Because we're all kind of hunkering down and it takes longer to just, get food into the house. And sometimes we're not in a good mood and our productive hours have been reduced. So during those hours, we're opening emails from people we know, right? And love, and you've built up these incredible connections. And so now's the time to reconnect with those people, right?
Yeah, that's been the idea. And I think it's also remembering that yeah, exactly. Like I haven't spammed their inbox prior. So if I do send something, it's usually because there's a reason for it or there's a purpose. It's not just random stuff. So I think it's a good point to remember, especially when my inbox is getting spammed by so much. I'm like, wait, I don't do that. So it's a differentiator, I think.
It is. And I'm sure you've noticed that you still do open emails that seem to be written to you from people you know,
Yeah,
right? So,
totally.
we
Absolutely.
all should be thinking about, okay, who am I in that category for? Like, who do I know who would
Exactly.
definitely open email if I sent it? And then what can I
Yeah.
work out with that person? And I know you've been calling your network. So do you tend to email and then jump on a call, or what's been your approach?
Yeah, it's been that way, and sometimes I just pick up the phone and call. And luckily for me, well, I mean, I enjoy. Some people won't touch it with a 10-foot pole, but I love working with the CEOs and presidents and founders, and I have all their cell phones, so I'll just pick up and check in, and that's been helpful once in a while. And then I also actually created a Calendly link to book a consultation or a 30-minute check-in, so they don't have to we don't have to go back and forth too much. So
Oh,
yeah, I've
that's
been
really
following.
smart. I'm so glad you mentioned that
Yeah,
because some people still haven't worked out that infrastructure in their business of making it easy for people to set up a call with them. This is such a great
yeah.
time to get those kind of things into place, isn't it? Right? To figure out,
Totally.
okay, is it Calendly? Is it Schedule One? Is it Acuity? Just pick your platform, figure out how to use it, add it to your signature, right? If you want to book a call with me, just click here. I think people really appreciate that. Have people been using it, Rabia?
They have been, yeah. And one of the things that's been interesting is because I do a lot of coaching as well. I have kind of three key offerings: culture change coaching, and then leadership development. And what I've noticed, when you're talking about same and different, a lot of people, what's been different is for career professionals, they've had a chance to reflect on, hey, do I want to go back to this organization? Or like, is this a time for me to do some interpersonal kind of reflection on how things are going? So they've been reaching out more because they actually have some time. So I think it's almost like leveraging what's been quiet a little bit, and they have the space to do it. And so I think being able to have the infrastructure to be like, sure, let's jump on a call. I want to be as responsive as possible to people who are feeling that opportunity to shift gears in their own lives right now too.
And it's a great reminder that sometimes when we have a big life-changing event, whether it's, a pandemic or a recession or even a personal event like the death of a loved one, that these are often
Yeah,
moments that people make huge changes in their lives. So I'm sure we're going to see a
totally.
lot of people, right, changing careers. Also, people are looking very critically at how their companies are handling it. One friend of mine who works in
Absolutely.
corporate America showed me his boss's video that the boss made to send to the entire company, and it was
Oh
lovely
wow.
and warm. And the guy was in his own study. He'd grown this beard, right? He's usually like very clean cut, but he's like, well, I'm at home like you, and I grew this beard. And it made my friend feel that much more loyal to his company. But I suspect there are people who don't like the way their bosses are handling it and don't like the lack of information and don't like what people are being asked to do going back to work. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. This is your
Totally.
population, not mine. But don't you think some of those
Yeah.
people are going to want to make some big life changes?
I think that's huge. And I think it was maybe Mark Cuban from Shark Tank who said how leaders handle their response, or how they respond to this pandemic, is going to define their culture and their reputation for the foreseeable future. So I totally agree. And frankly, some organizations are really, really doing well, and it's not their first rodeo, like in terms of a crisis. So it helps to have some gray hairs, if you will, because they've been through things. And then others have this is their first time, and it's a huge, we've never, unprecedented, right? It's the word of the day. But I do think that how we respond and how this is where the truth of leadership essentially shows up when it's actually tested. So
Yes.
yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Well, of course, what I'm thinking while you're talking, you won't be shocked, is that I want you to write a blog on this because I think there's such a great opportunity. Like, I think you're hearing so many interesting things from the leaders you're contacting. And, I think even just on a human level, I'm just super curious what these people are sharing with you and where you're seeing people stand up and fall down. And, you're an expert. Like, you work with leaders all over the country in all different, large corporations, I'm sure from Fortune 100 to Fortune 5,000. So I'd love to see that piece, and I'm sure a lot of other people would too. Do you feel like you could write that?
I think I could, and I appreciate that because sometimes I have to remember that, like, I'm like, oh, there's so much stuff about leadership out there and COVID-19. But you're right, I have an angle. It's my unique experiences, so I'm more than happy to put some effort toward it. I think it's a great motivation.
Oh, wonderful, good. Well, we can hold each other accountable because over the weekend I thought of a blog that I'm trying to finish. So it's like I got to finish my blog. But it's true. Sometimes we say these things and we come up with these theories, and then we don't turn them into a blog, and it's a big missed opportunity, right? Like I find myself with a lot of my coaching clients right now saying, because they're all asking me the same question right now, which is, how do I project through the end of 2020 what I'm going to earn when I don't even know what's going to happen? I was on track to make 500,000. I was on track to make 750,000, but now it's all different. Yeah. So, hi, Carrie. Carrie's freaking out because she's like, 2 of my friends are on together. Hi, Carrie. Yeah, she was one of the people I had this conversation with, but I've had it a lot lately, right? How do you project through the end of the year? And my number one piece of advice, which I'm going to turn into a blog post, if you turn yours into a blog post, okay, deal? Here, Wonder Twin powers activate. Get up here with the fist. Okay, we're doing it. So the one I need to write is something like, we're all running a startup now, right? I don't care if you were in business 10 years when this happened. I don't care if you were in business 20 years when this happened. You are now running a startup, and startups have certain properties, such as they have to test their markets a lot, right? They have to be ready to not make that much money because they're not quite sure what their customer wants, right? They have to be super close to their customer and like checking in with them all the time because they're trying to figure out, is this the right offering? Is this the right pricing? And I know for some people, it's going to make them tired, right? That thought, like, I'm running a startup now, right? It makes you a little tired. But once you get over the time, right, because you finally got to a place where you were like an established business, right, before this happened. Right. But I think once you get over the tired, what I've seen with a couple of my coaching clients is then they come back and they're like, you know what? That does energize me, because rather than being in the mode of like, I'm running this shell of the business I ran before, right? That doesn't give anybody good energy. If you start thinking of like, oh, I have a startup, like that's kind of cool. And maybe I'll come through this with a whole different business model that will give me more personal freedom, that will have higher margins, that will serve thousands more people than I was ever able to serve, with the old model. Like, so whatever we can do to access that excitement, right, about this moment we're in of like, okay, we've got a startup, like, cool, that's fun. I don't know. How do you feel about having a startup, Rabia?
Yeah, I think it does shift things. And I know we were talking about that at one point because I feel like I was so lucky. Going on 3.5 years ago, I was laid off from my job. And literally the day after I started my business. And so the clients actually joined me, and I just hit the ground running with not even a minute to think about now what I'm thinking about, in this time. And I almost didn't have that startup mentality because it just went like this.
Right. The clients just came. They came to you.
They just came.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think this challenge of having to be more proactive, and quite frankly, this select group of clients I've worked with over 3 years, they're going through financial turmoil. So, and there are a lot of reasons why they can't re-engage. So yeah, it's the first time in my life I've had to pivot and really be like, wait, I'm a startup all of a sudden. And it's kind of it hits you in the gut, but then it's kind of cool at the same time. I think it depends on how you kind of look at it. It has different angles to it.
Well, it's a big reframe, that's for sure, right? And that is a mindset practice that I teach, and that's in my new book, is like whenever you're in a moment in your life where you're feeling like, I don't like this. Like, this is sucky, right? It's usually time for a reframe because, I love that expression that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% attitude. Right?
I think it's so true.
None of us picked this. Like, none of us would have picked this, right? I'm sitting in the suburbs. Like, I need to get back to New York City like crazy right now. And I am. In 2 weeks, I'm moving back.
Oh, gosh, I want to go too.
You can come with me at 6 feet apart, of course. But the point is, whenever we're feeling that feeling of like, I really don't like this, when you do mindset work, you learn that you can never control what happens to you, but you can learn to control your reaction to it. And so if you're finding you're stuck in a feeling of like, I don't like this, I'm waking up every day with negative energy, it's usually time for a reframe. And this is exactly what we just did, right? This little reframe of like, we're not running a shell of our former business. We're running a cool new startup.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's just, they say like doctors make the worst patients, right? So like, it's funny because I will coach my clients and share what you're sharing, like COVID-19 just happened. Like, we didn't plan for it. So it's how we react to it. And sometimes it's hard to do that for ourselves.
It is.
When we're on the other end of the table. So
yeah, well, and hey, by the way, coaches need coaches, right? It's like, I'll never forget when my son was about 7, I had this wonderful coach. He's 12 now, and it was his birthday. So my son and I were on the way to school. He was like in first grade or something. I said, oh, let's make a video for my coach. So we made this little happy birthday video, the two of us singing. And when I was done, my 7-year-old said to me, wait, so Mom, I thought you were a coach. I was like, well, I am a coach. And then he was like, but you have a coach? I was like, I do. And then he thought about it and he was like, and then he goes, well, does your coach have a coach? And then I was like, you know what? He probably does. I don't know for sure, but he probably does. But everybody needs someone.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally. It's like one big pyramid scheme. I'm telling you.
Well, and also that little reframe, it's so easy to do the reframe for someone else, right? It's not so easy to do it for ourselves. And it's 12:33. My son, speaking, but the same son has to go to math class at 12:30. After our last CEO check-in, he was like, Mom, you've been running over. And I have been, so I'm going to have to go. But Rabia, will you have a piece of this bread? Please just take a piece of the bread. Just take a piece. It kind of looks good though, right? On camera, it looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Honestly, it looks delicious.
It does, really?
I'm a big bread fan.
Oh, thank you. I'm so not a bread baker, so I'm probably going to be like showing this off at every CEO check-in now. Like, I'll just keep it frozen and bring it back out. Like,
yeah, it can become an artifact of this pandemic in your museum. Yeah.
There we go. Oh my God, I love it. The COVID-19 museum, first bread ever baked. I call this working mom homemade because like when you're a working mom, homemade is like you bought the package and you added water to it.
Right.
That is homemade.
Hey, that's the way to do it. I think that's awesome. Thank you.
So great to see you today, Rabia. Good luck with the intentional building of the startup. Super excited to see what you do with it. And I'll see you again this week, I hope. I think I will. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Thanks. Bye. So quick reminder, thanks for joining us. To everybody watching that we are holding a free 1-hour webinar workshop, interactive. So this is show up, caffeinated, and ready to do some work. It's this Friday at 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. It's called Thrive, Making Money in the New Normal. So please join us if you want to hear some success stories about how other women just like you are pivoting their businesses. And I'll be doing some teaching about how to market in the new normal as well. All right, math class has got to get going. There's somebody at the door. Life is happening. You guys have a wonderful day. Happy Monday. And I will see you Wednesday for CEO check-in and many of you Friday for the Thrive workshop. Bye. Bye, Carrie. Thanks for joining us.